Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Bioko Norte and Bioko Sur in Equatorial Guinea. Now those are of course the two regions that make up the island of Bioko, which you can actually see over here on the map. It's right here. It says Equatorial Guinea. It's actually down here. This is Rio Muni, the mainland. And the other half is up here, which is very important because the capital city is located on Bioko. It is Malabo, right here. So yeah, fun fact that Equatorial Guinea's capital is not in mainland Africa, where the main country is, or I guess the main part of the country. The capital's located on the island over here. They're planning on changing that. By they, I mean Obiang, the current, I guess, president for life of Equatorial Guinea. He's been the leader of the country since the late 1970s. They are planning on building a capital city right about here in Rio Muni called Ciudad de la Paz. It is not done yet. They've been working on it for a long time. But if all goes well, eventually Malabo will no longer be the capital. But as of recording this, in 2025, it still very much is. So we will address it as such. Bioko is actually a pretty forested mountain. By forested, I should say jungly. It is covered, majority of it, in just thick jungle, some of which has never really been thoroughly explored or touched deep inside of it. This is a volcanic island. You can see Pico Basile right here. But there is also the caldera, it just says on there, which is how it's marked on Google Earth. I'm pretty sure it's like Santa something or other. Its full name, but it's like a collapsed volcano. You know how they're like a perfect ring? It's like a letter C. So at one point it blew up real bad and never recovered, Mount St. Helens style. So this is the main mountain. I believe it's the highest peak in Equatorial Guinea. And it actually has a family of volcanoes associated with it called the Cameroon Line, which we'll look at. It's easier to see on Google Earth. We'll do that after the history portion. But you can see Annobon down here, which we've already done a video on. I'll link my Equatorial Guinea playlist right up there if you want to watch the video about Annobon down here. There's the independent country of Sao Tome and Principe over here. And then we have Bioko. And then that leads on to the mainland with Mount Cameroon. Can't see it on this map really, but it's right about here. It's just very huge, very active volcano. So this is the Cameroon line. So Bioko's just a little step onto the big volcanoes there in Cameroon. I think that's pretty much it for geography, to be honest. It's a little place. But very interesting. I'm really excited for the Google Earth part because every time I've clicked on Google Earth to look at Bioko, different things pop up. I've done it like 3 or 4 times now, and every time something appears that was not there before. So I'm kind of excited to see if that happens again and explore new areas, but we'll see. Let's talk about the history first before we dive into that. So the indigenous people here are known as the Bubi. They migrated to this island at one point. We don't know when. It could have been a long time ago in the first millennium BCE. It could have been during the Bantu migrations. It could have been during the 1300s. We don't know. I kind of like to think it's yes to all. I think it was slowly but surely different people were like, let's get out of here and let's go to this island over there and see what's going on there, see if it's better. And for many people, it apparently was. There's a theory that the booby started off as like servants or slaves that ran away for their freedom and hid on the island. And since they were so isolated, they established their own cultures and language and things like that. Although they're still a Bantu-speaking people, they have their very own distinct culture from the rest of mainland Africa Bantu cultures. Pretty neat, I think. In the year 1472, a Portuguese sailor named Fernão do Po sailed by. He was the first European to sight the island. He named it Formosa, which I'm pretty sure means beautiful. Just a nice name. I think that's what Taiwan was called back in the day, but anyway. Nevertheless, the name was changed in 1494 to honor him, and the island was named Fernando Po for a long time. The Portuguese attempted a couple of plantations here, but the Bubi were very resistant. They were very violent toward them, mainly because the Portuguese brought diseases that killed off many of them. They didn't want these people around. So a lot of the plantations failed or stuck to the coast area here. In 1778, the Treaty of El Pardo was signed between Spain and Portugal. There were conflicts over the Rio de la Plata region of South America, which, if you don't know, is pretty much the area where Buenos Aires is located today, Rio de la Plata. So that treaty gave Portugal a lot more land in what's now Brazil, and in return, Portugal gave a bunch of stuff to Spain, including this island. So the Spaniards came, they checked it out, the Bubi violently fought them off, and the Spaniards didn't do much of anything here. So in 1825, the British sailed by, and they thought that this island had been abandoned. They knew it belonged to the Spanish, they knew it was called Fernando Po. But they were like, you know what, if you guys aren't using it, we're just going to use it. And in 1827, they established Port Clarence, which today is Malabo right here. It was established to be a anti-slaving port. So the British went all in on anti-slave trade after they made it illegal. They wanted to enforce it extremely hard. So they set up a couple of bases around the Gulf of Guinea here and just sailed around policing everything and finding slave ships and taking them into custody and releasing the captured people that were on board these ships. Now, the problem is that a lot of these people would not be able to just find their way home. They didn't know where they were. They're lost, you know. So that's actually why. Can you see Sierra Leone up here? That's why Sierra Leone here was created, to dump off people there, create their own society. But if these ships rolled up into Port Clarence here, most of the time the people would just be released and they'd say, have fun on the island, enjoy your new home. And they intermingled with the people here. And I imagine that was not the greatest thing, but I mean better than what was happening to them. But that's what happened. Port Clarence would operate until 1843. The Spaniards realized that the British were really having a lot of success here, and they were like, you should probably leave because this is not your land at all. I think they had signed a lease to be here temporarily. The Spaniards revoked it in 1855, and they came back, the Spanish, and they renamed the port to Santa Isabel. Of course, they tried to conquer the peoples who had slowly but surely moved further inland, away from any European influence. And the Bubi put up a large resistance, but the Spaniards managed to conquer the island in 1912. That's how long these people fought for their land. It took until 1912 to subdue the entire island. Now that would not be for much longer, because Equatorial Guinea would obtain its independence in, I want to say 1973. It was early 1970, 72, 73. They gained independence from Spain. It became Equatorial Guinea. It was Spanish Guinea beforehand. So the first leader of Equatorial Guinea, Macias Nguema, decided that they were going to get rid of all the European names. So they renamed Santa Isabel to Malabo, which was named after a Bubi king. He had fought in the resistance. He had died in prison. And that's quite an honor to name it after him. I think his son was the king at the time. Or grandson, I want to say. Now his son, Malabo's son, was the one who gave in to the Spanish and said, or I guess didn't say, I guess it's over, but they were the king when the Spanish took over the island. So I think it was his grandson was king at the time. Don't quote me on that. But he renamed the island to Macias Nguema Bioko. He named it after himself. This was a bad person, and that's saying it very lightly. He was I'm trying to think of the YouTube-friendly words to describe this man. Let's just say he had a fascination with a former European leader named Adolf and wanted to model his country after how that person modeled their country in more ways than one. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives during this time, including many of the Bubi. He was a Fang, which was the main, prominent group of people living in the mainland. So many started to move to the island during this time. So it kind of became a Bubi versus Fang situation. And the Fang were viciously fighting them. This terrible person would eventually be overthrown in 1979 by the current leader, Teodoro Obiang, who, like I said, is still the leader of Equatorial Guinea to this day. 1979. Current day. They just had an election a few years ago and he won by 95% or something, because that sounds legitimate. But that's not what this video is about. You gotta say, he threw out a very bad person. He got rid of a horrible, horrible person. Got him tried for war crimes and everything. But then you make yourself essentially president for life. Lesser of two evils, I suppose. But that's not what this video is about. The only other main news that's occurred here is the rise of the petroleum industry, which began in the late 1980s. It's funneled a lot of wealth into Obiang's pocket, not so much into the country. It's funneled a lot of money into his passion project of creating a new capital city, not so much into the rest of the country, which is unfortunate, because it could really be something. There are some nice new areas that I'll show you on Google Earth that clearly have been built recently. But you can tell overall that petroleum money is not going into the country. It's going into his pocket. But this video isn't about him. My goodness. It's about Bioko. And that is essentially the history of Bioko Island. It's had its ups and downs, hasn't it? Today it's pretty much up. It could be upper, it could be better, but it's still pretty much up. So yeah, I suppose we should head over to Google Earth and take a look at this magnificent little island. Here we are on Bioko Island. You can see here. But let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. I'll show you that Cameroon line too. So here is beautiful Africa. Dum, dum, dum. We're going to go to 2 other places in Africa this week. One in Western Africa, one in Northern Africa. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss those. One of them is a capital city too. How neat is that? 2 capital cities in a row. So let's look at the Cameroon line. Can you see it? Dun, dun, dun. It's pretty obvious. If I zoom in closer, you can see Mount Cameroon. Right there. Dun, dun. Which is an easy one. What's the highest point in Cameroon? It's Mount Cameroon. The country's named after the mountain. Trivia for you if you ever want to sound smart. Same with Kenya. The highest point in Kenya is Mount Kenya. If you ever want to sound like a trivia master. So there's little Annabon right there. Sao Tome and Principe. And then Bioko. And then Mount Cameroon is the Cameroon line. And then I think there's other volcanoes going up here. You can kind of see this line still continuing. Isn't that so interesting? Tectonic stuff is really cool. And you can see the division here between Norte and Sul. Norte, Sul. I could have done 2 videos, but that would have been pointless. It's the same island. I may as well lump them together. So of course we have to start off in Malabo, the capital city. Let's just look at the slideshow. Big old bustling Malabo, beautiful trees. Big bustling city, the mountain in the background. All very kind of typical major African city. Beautiful cathedral there. This is a very Catholic country due to all that Spanish influence. There's the port there. Little islands. A bunch of little islands around. Isn't that beautiful? It looks like a dollhouse. It's so detailed, intricate. Beautiful cathedral. It's up here, I believe. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yep. Nailed it. It's so pretty. Look at that. Oh, the interior looks like the stars. Beautiful church. This guy thinks so too. Very nice. Yeah, here's the big port. There's the area Presidential, but I'm pretty sure that Obiang doesn't live here. Here's Black Beach Prison. There's no pictures, but it's a very infamous prison. I think Obiang used to run it, which kind of tells you about. If I remember what I read correctly, he's involved with it from back in the bad times. Let's look at a park. Let's see. We're having, looks like a little school meeting there. It looks like story time. That's fun. It's like library reading time. Yeah. 2 good friends. Having a nice time. Reading all kinds of books. Lots of selfies here. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I want to show you the city, but there isn't too much like amazing I gotta show you in the city, to be honest. Let's see the Paseo Maritimo. I love Malabo. There's the ocean. Nice little ocean walk. Grab a bite to eat. See some beautiful flowers. The cafe there. The mountain in the background. We'll look at that next. But yeah, you can see the dock out there, the port. And And look at this picture of the sun. That is beautiful. Wow, that's a great shot. That's a beautiful photograph. Oh, it could be a painting. It's so pretty. Good job to that photographer. Yeah, look at all the cafes along the walk there. That's pretty neat. There's plenty of places to grab a good drink or a snack. Let's look at this. The Malabo National Park, which is very swampy. Wow, look at the statue. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah. Neat little spots there. Kind of reminds me of like Florida, but in a good way. I know I talk bad about Florida, and it deserves it, but there are some nice things about Florida. And it's like that, like neat little areas near the Everglades. And look at this. Look how they've trimmed this palm. That's beautiful. It's a big old fan. And more neat statues as well. All kinds of things here to look at. Fun walkways there. I'm sure that's great at night. I bet you it's all lit up. A concert area. That area's all lit up. Big swimming pool. It looks like an art museum there too. Very neat. Okay. You can see all the gas stuff over here. Oh yeah. It's definitely the methanol production company. So on and so forth. But that's where all the workers live. Yeah, they got a clubhouse and a pool. That's where all the money's made. The suspension bridge, where does that go? I guess it's just a big old... That's probably a... what you call it? I can't think right now. What's that called? An oil rig. That's the word I'm looking at. That's the word I'm thinking of. This is different. See, there's one I didn't see. Oh, there's no pictures. That's too bad. That hadn't popped up before. Alright. Let's look at some nature. Here's Pico Pasile National Park. And then we'll look at the actual mountain. Makeup of the cathedral there. That's fun. Oh, that's it. Okay, let's look at the mountain then. Here it is. Dun, dun, dun. Pico Pasile. Looks like there's a little chapel on the top. That's pretty neat. Pretty too. It's really pretty. Here we go. Some nature views there. Beautiful statue. That's really pretty actually. On a cloudy day. Something there. A selfie. Lots of selfies here. There's nothing wrong with that. Look, you can see the road. Winding your way up to the very tippy top of the mountain. I should show you over here. When I told you that there's definitely some areas that have been built recently because they're very fancy. The African Union had a meeting here in 2011 and they built all this. See, look at all of these luxury homes here, I guess. Little estates, vacation homes. All perfectly manicured. Looking identical pretty much. Places to stay. Cool roundabouts with all kinds of something happening on them. And then we have the conference center here. I don't think there's a slideshow for. Restaurant, event center. A mall. Do you think there's a slideshow for the mall? Oh my gosh, there is. Whoa. Do you think it's all Turkish stuff? It says Istanbul. Look, it's empty. Mall Istanbul. Was it built with like Turkish money? One poor coworker, and there's Obiang. His picture's everywhere. You know, like a regular leader. Like a normal guy. And look at that, Centro Comercial Sipopo. They built all kinds of stuff. Just for that. There's the golf course over here. There it is. What's over here? Wow. I'm guessing another resort area, because look at this pool. It's like 3 pools. So yeah, they've got money to dish out. It's just they don't. Let's head down to the south. I've got things to show you down here. So a lot of this is it's San Carlos. That's what it's called. Do you see what I mean? That's all that's left of it. It had a big boom. All this got exploded. So a lot of this area, Google Earth doesn't even have. It is a bunch of trees, but like this area wasn't loading right. And it could just be, too different, but it's all pixely. You see this? I've been trying to load this the past couple of days, and this is just what it looks like on Google Earth. It's just there's no pictures of this strip. No pictures of this strip. No pictures up here, and that's just because there's nothing here. It's all trees. It's all wildlife. It's all lush, lush jungle. There's just nothing there. Very cloudy day when they took that picture. Is there pictures of the beach? Oh wow, it says more selfies. I'm not surprised. Oh, they're out on the. Doesn't look like it's gonna hold that many guys. Looks like it's sinking. And little canoes. They brought their horsey toy. Oh, another pretty sun picture. This is so beautiful. Look at the rays down onto the beach. My goodness, there's some real talented photographers. Wonder if it was that guy. Talented photographers coming here. Beautiful. But this town has a slideshow. Lupa. I believe this is the second largest town on Bioko. I was about to say, I believe this is the largest town in Bioko Sul. They got a church that's being repaired, but I can imagine it looks very pretty without all the scaffolding. There's a port there as well. Beautiful beach walk. Very lush green. Wow. Lots of rocks. Trees. Beautiful views. Whole dining area there out by the sea. Can't go wrong there. Then if we go down to this, I don't know if this has a slideshow. Let's see. No. Mirador. Ta-da. Gorgeous. He thinks so too. They brought their Monster drink. Monster's not bad. That guy likes it. I only drink Monster when I'm in Disneyland because it's the only energy drink they sell. These guys think it's pretty great. They love Monster. It's fine. I'm a Red Bull girly myself. I wonder if the Wildlife Center is I actually haven't seen this slideshow before. Oh wow, they've got little drums there for something. It kind of looks like beehives, but I don't know if they have a lot of bees here. They got their machete there to go whack whack at the trees. So they can get through. But yeah, there is a lot of conservation here in the south. If I had a separate video about Bioko Sul, I would talk about the many conservation efforts, mainly for the many primates that are being hunted for bushmeat. It's still something you can see if you go to Malabo. You can purchase bushmeat at the market. So there's a lot of efforts to try to curtail that. But here's the turtle camp. I was about to say that's the other thing is there's a big hatchery beach here for sea turtles. Baby turtles under there possibly. This slideshow didn't pop up for me before either, so I haven't seen these. I'm glad it's loading just fine. One of the few rare times this actually loads for me. I was going to show you the waterfalls before. I think it was just this slideshow had all the waterfalls, but there might be one over here as well, because I think they're actually over here. Cascades, yeah. But you can see, I think it's this waterfall. This is the longest waterfall in Equatorial Guinea. And the southern area, this region here, is very famous for its various waterfalls flowing down into the ocean. Whoa. That's a big one. It looks like you see these in like Central Africa, like Sudan, Chad, stuff like that. How interesting to see them out here. Oh, this turtle's having a good time, I hope. Laying eggs in the sand. It's a fun guy. Tents out there. Baby pineapple. Let's see if this is it. Oh, wow. Right there. Can you see him? So pretty. Wow. That's gorgeous. Yeah, it's all very untouched. Punta de Santiago. I've seen this one. I just don't remember what pictures there are. There aren't any. I'm thinking of something else. Alright. Oh, we gotta look at the caldera, which I'll show you this. And then I'll show you the actual caldera slideshow. That looks fun. They're about to jump in. Swim around with their friends. It is gorgeous here. The adventures you could have camping out here. Lighting a little fire there on the beach. Go swimming. Go exploring. I wouldn't swim in that. But I'd swim here. And those waves crash down on you. Make a little tea and fruits, veg. That looks fun. So yes, here you can see the actual caldera. And that's where I'll end this video. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. Look at this crab. Oh my gosh. Why does this look exactly like Mr. Krabs? That's so funny. Oh, pretty. That's a gorgeous picture too. And if you enjoy this style of content, please consider subscribing. Look at that. Please consider subscribing. Like I said, in the next video, we're going to another capital city in Africa. Oh my goodness. Wait, that's a crab fighting a baby turtle. Who will win? Oh, I don't know. So yeah, you're going to want to see that video as well, especially if you enjoyed this one. Please don't forget to give a thumbs up for this little baby sea turtle. And leave me some comments down below. I'd like to know your thoughts on this place. I hope you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good